This episode of the Old Dogs REI Network is brought to you by Mino Studio. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manassero.
Hello, old dogs, and welcome to
Fun Facts Friday.
This is our once a week, only on Friday show, where we have special episodes not featuring guests, where I will share tricks, tips, terminology, and techniques that will help skyrocket you to real estate investing success. Today's topic is how to reduce tenant turnover. Great topic, but before we get started, I'd just like to touch base with you guys and just see how you're doing. Man, I've been talking to a lot of you that are just doing awesome things right now, and maybe it's just the folks that are doing good that are sharing with me, and maybe those of you that maybe are struggling a little bit aren't so apt to write or connect with me. But I want to encourage all of you guys that I'm here to assist any way I can. I mentioned last week, and I don't know how many of you listened to that one, but last week that I'm thinking about doing like a Zoom call with whoever wants to join us. Yeah, I'm just kind of batting around the idea because I talked to you sort of one way here. I thought it'd be so cool if we could talk with each other. I mean, in a Zoom call. Last thing you guys need to do is get tied up some evening, and I'm sure a lot of you are doing Zoom calls already with business related things, but something that might be helpful for you, and also something that can help boost what you're doing. So it could be on a topic. We could have a topic, and we could tackle that. I could share information, and then we could have a Q&A afterwards. Or it could be a little bit more informal, where you guys just ask questions, and I'll answer as best I can. You can kind of do that kind of thing. I'm kind of, I'm looking for feedback. I got like one, note from somebody about it that was, really up for it, but I'm not really sure if you guys even want to do it. So if you do want to do that, just email me at bill@olddogsreinetwork.com. And if you have any ideas on what you think that might be, I don't want to do it just to do it. I think it's just kind of cool to touch base, make connections, and do something proactively where I can help you guys if there's any way I can. So also, it's just great to connect and meet some of the old dog, and I'm sure there's some young pups out there too in our community, and maybe we can connect. Anyway, that's that. So if you want to write to bill@olddogsreinetwork.com, and we'll see if that can come together. Okay, normally I do sort of the tip of the week, but my daughter said, "Dad, you kind of do this like word of the week thing." Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. So here's a word that I get asked a lot about, and that is actually it's a term. It's not really a word, but stewards, accredited investor. There are a lot of people that aren't sure what that is, and they're generally people that aren't maybe active investors, but I'm going to give you the definition of an accredited investor. Okay, so the definition of an accredited investor is as follows. To qualify as an accredited investor based on your annual income, you must have had an annual income of $200,000 a year or greater, or $300,000 or greater for a couple, with your spouse, for the prior 2 years, and have a reasonable expectation of the same or greater income in the current year. Okay, so that's based, on salary. There's also another qualification. You can also qualify based on your net worth, and your net worth would have to be $1 million or more To calculate your net worth, you add up all of your assets and subtract all of your liabilities. You are not allowed to include the value of your primary residence as an asset in the calculation. So those are two of the main ones. I know there are other qualifications, but those are sort of the primary. And then if you're thinking of investing in a syndication or something that requires an accredited investor, then you often have to get some sort of certification. There's online sites that you can go to where you can basically put in the information that they ask for, and they will verify it and give you a, I don't know if it's a certificate or a number or something that verifies that you're an accredited investor. You can also get a letter from your CPA. So those are some of the common ways to do that. But accredited investor, good thing to know about as you get more successful, and especially as you're growing your rental kingdom here, or whatever you want to call it. The idea is, as you're making this extra money too, you have to have a place to put it. And then sometimes you want to invest in other people's projects, or you want to invest in other things besides real estate. But that helps to have that designation. The other is a sophisticated investor, and maybe I'll do that in a future word of the week. So let's jump into our topic here: how to reduce tenant turnover. This is huge. Guys, if there's somebody that's not listening to this, I can't believe you're not listening, because this is a key area. If you are in rental properties, you need to understand and know how to reduce tenant turnover. I mean, it's no secret that keeping your rental property occupied means keeping a steady stream of rental income flowing. Now, getting your tenants to renew their lease year after year is critical. And I'm talking about the same tenant over and over again in the same property or unit. In fact, some experienced landlords even go so far to say that you don't ever really make any money on your rental unit until the second year. And that's really key, because you can, and I'll get into that in just a second, longer term tenants tend to be stable, pay their rent on time, and minimize the cost and maintenance efforts associated with tenant turnover. And what I mean about that is that, like, a tenant turnover can cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000. It depends on what has to be done on that turnover. Sometimes there's a lot of other associated costs. If tenants damage the property, I mean, beyond just normal wear and tear, that can add up. If you have legal costs because there are evictions, and a lot of these things, you have to also count the days that your property is not receiving income. So when there's a vacancy, you have to also figure you've got to pay on your property taxes and your insurance, and you've still got to pay your property manager. So all these costs, and there's a whole list of them, add up. And some people, it can exceed what they actually made in cash flow. So that's why I'm saying this is important. Because if you go through that first year and you do not have a turnover at the end of that year, that the tenant renews, boom, now you actually get to keep that cash flow. But if you have a person only for a year and they leave, the turnaround expenses could totally eat up your cash flow, and you just earned nothing. So it's really, really important to listen to this and take this seriously. And I mentioned some of the costs that are involved. There's also, extra work that has to be done. Maybe there's things that need to be fixed, appliances that have to be fixed. And then there's extra phone calls, property visits, rental advertising, staff time and showing, and other related financial transactions that you have to deal with as a result of that loss. So when your rental sits empty between tenants, you have to invest time and money into maintaining that property, marketing the unit to new potential tenants, keeping the utilities turned on for showings, and screening new potential tenants, all while sacrificing your rental income. Tenant turnover can kill profitability, costing landlords thousands of dollars per month. Finding ways to avoid this tenant turnover and prevent vacancy in your rental property is crucial to your success, and understanding the trends that impact the average tenant turnover rate is also a key piece of that puzzle. landlords and property owners are frequently found scratching their heads wondering how they can improve their retention rates and decrease their vacancy. Although it's imperative to respond to maintenance and repair requests in a timely manner, research shows that both low median age and high job growth areas correlate to lower retention rates in cities across the U.S. You got that? Younger people living in homes or younger families and a high job growth, in cities across the U.S., that correlates to lower retention rates. Certain amenities can persuade tenants to stay, while others have little to no bearing on the decision. 94% of renters in apartment housing, for example, are looking for available parking. That's like the number one thing. While 94% of renters in, let's say, a single family unit prioritize things like high-speed internet. Now, I might add in there too, these are just some of the things that people are looking for. Parking is, in a survey, 94% of people chose that as number one. A pool, 83%. A fitness center, this is apartments again, 82%. Secured community access, 80%. Recycling, 80%. In a single family home, high-speed internet, 94%. Walk-in closet, 89%. Soundproof walls, 88%. Patio or balcony, 87%. Washer or dryer and unit, 87%. Those are important amenities that you need to have in those types of rentals. Let's move on. Finding a good tenant is one of the primary keys that can increase landlord profitability. Now, as I mentioned, the cost of averaging $2,500 a month is a lot. And when you have a mortgage on your property, you may only be making $100 to $200, if you're lucky, $300 on your monthly cash flow. So as you can see, that times 12, man, that'll get eaten up really quick if you've got a turnaround expense of $2,500. So landlords and property owners incur multiple expenses during tenant turnover, which costs not only money but also time. And your time is precious when you're an investor because you could be using that to look for other properties and do other things. Once that unit is vacated, they must clean the property and repair any damage, which usually entails simple things like carpet, getting new carpet, getting a fresh coat of paint. And you think about it, new carpet, putting it in, if you can get a really great deal and you don't have a lot of square footage, maybe you can keep it under $1,000, but usually it's over. And then a fresh coat of paint, we're talking painting all the walls, the trim, etc. That can run over $1,000 in itself. So you can see how quickly that can add up. And that's just those two things. After it's been restored, then you need to create the ads. Sometimes you have to pay for the advertising to expedite tenant turnover and fill the space as quickly as possible. You need to have frequent showings, and sometimes they're on weekends. And some people, your property management firms, some of them don't work on weekends. So you have to coordinate these things to be able to show it to tenants. Each renter who does apply must be processed and screened so as to reduce tenant turnover in the future. Furthermore, tenant turnover decreases as people inch closer to the age of 40. Now, we mentioned younger people with in a community with a lot of job opportunities, low retention. But as you get older and people are more settled in, that's where you're going to, and maybe there's not as much in terms of employment opportunities, you're going to see your best retention rates, which is really interesting. And although this may vary by city and demographic, one factor appears to remain consistent. The higher costs of rent, for example, doesn't appear to affect tenant turnover. It's not a big thing. So if your rent's a little bit higher than market, it shouldn't be a major issue. But if people realize that, even if it's a little bit higher and they're getting all the stuff that they want, they'll be happy to stay. They're not going to care if the guy next door is $50 cheaper if you're meeting the other needs that they have. A Property Management Insider analysis shows that the annual rent growth spans from 2% in places like New York and Indianapolis to 10% in San Francisco and Denver. But retention rates remain, higher than 50%. A 2017 TransUnion Smart Move survey revealed that 50% of landlords across the United States report experiencing lower than 10% of tenant turnover. Now, this is really kind of interesting, and I don't know why, but the other parts of the U.S. are would probably be, like 47%. Tend to be higher turnover. So I'm talking about states when I say the 63%, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. These have the lowest turnover. The survey didn't really say exactly why, but research suggests that in order to avoid turnover, they need to upgrade their rental properties with an in-demand amenities such as on-site washer and dryer units, like I mentioned before. They also need to keep rent fairly priced. So those areas in the 47%, need to be more competitive. They need to put these other amenities in there to offset it. But if you're buying in the South, you already got the advantage that you generally are going to have lower turnover. One of the best ways to lower your average tenant turnover rate is to run comprehensive screening on each of your rental applications. And I've talked about this a lot in my Fun Fact Fridays. The more you know about your prospective renters, the easier it is to land a long-term tenant. Thorough tenant screening processes can help you get a higher quality tenant with a longer average tenure in your rental unit. Now, I've talked about Smart Move, which is a TransUnion company that does screening, and also Rent Prep, who's one of our sort of affiliate friends here. They use Smart Move as well, Smart Move has also been an advertiser on the Old Dogs network, and I use it personally for a lot of my rentals. They provide detailed landlord credit check and reports that include a credit history check, eviction history check, and rental criminal background, so you can find the right fit for your rental property. And there are little tricks that you look for in those numbers and those returns that can help you to assess that person's long-term viability, okay? Smart Move also provides landlords with a resident score, which is a real unique thing, which is a credit score built to look at the outcome of a lease, okay? So based on TransUnion rental screening analysis, bad outcomes occur 24% of residential property rentals. Finding an applicant with a good resident score could lower the average tenant turnover rate. So it's like a prediction of what's going to happen. It calculates a variety of factors to provide a snapshot. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm selling this one particular thing, but it is a good resource to have. Smart Move's updated resident score predicts the risk of eviction 15% more often in comparison to a typical credit score. So it's a little extra info that they take all the numbers and they put it together to assess what they call a resident score and the likelihood of that person's chance of turnover at the end of the year. Although renters may come and go, influenced by age, amenity, and job availability, it's possible to improve retention rates by making sure you lease to the right person in the first place. Eviction processes are expensive, compounding on the already sizable costs incurred during a regular tenant turnover. Protect yourself from a potential loss of revenue by doing an extensive rental screening and sign your next lease agreement with more peace of mind. So you want to do everything you can to look at that person not just as somebody that's going to fill that apartment for the year or make it through the year, but they're going to be somebody who is going to renew year after year after year. To improve your retention rate, it's also helpful to understand why tenants leave in the first place. So kind of look at that as an overview here. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau graphic mobility data, the three primary reasons for moving, and this was a survey done between 2017 and 18, related to housing, family, and employment. Some of the top things that housing-wise, people move. Now, when they move, I'm talking about people that maybe move into an apartment or your rental house from someplace else. It's as well as why they move out of your rental, okay? So for housing, it's wanting a new or better home, wanting a cheaper home, wanting to purchase a home rather than rent one, wanting to live in a better neighborhood. Family issues are wanting to establish their own household. Maybe they're moving out of their parents' house. Maybe they're having kids and they need more room. Maybe it's experiencing a change in marital status. Employment, accepting a job or job transfer somewhere, wanting to be closer to work or have an easier commute, looking for a new work elsewhere, or maybe they lost their job. Other common reasons also include frequent maintenance issues. Like if they're having problems with broken things and stuff, and your property manager or you are not repairing those things promptly, I had so many people that have come into my rentals and said, yeah, I was at a place where they never fixed anything, or they took them forever to do it or what have you. Or sometimes they've got bad neighbors. Maybe it's just an apartment, the people next door are just major druggies or something, and it's driving them crazy, or they're making noise all night or whatever. Now, although you can't predict when a tenant will have to move for a new job in a new city or to a bigger rental for a growing family, there are certain things you can do to minimize tenant turnover. So here are some real applicable tips that you can do to help, again, encourage resident retention. Number one, be responsive. And I just mentioned that. Responding to tenants' requests in a respectful and timely manner will put you in good standing with your residents. Your tenants are less likely to renew their lease with you if they wait long periods of time to, if you don't respond to requests, or if you respond with hostility, or, they call on you, it's a recording and they never get any real contact with people as well. That's really key. Being responsive. If they've got a clogged toilet or whatever, boom, respond quickly and appropriately and in a nice way. Number two, handling maintenance issues swiftly. Don't let maintenance issues fall by the wayside. You can make maintenance issues can all be resolved. Don't be tempted to go for a quick fix that will provide more trouble in the long run and potentially cause your tenant to start looking for another rental. Like they just keep fixing the same toilet for the same problems, or the leaky faucet and it keeps leaking. It's crazy, and so it's also best to avoid charging maintenance request fees as well. Number three, providing routine maintenance. Now, one way you can prevent a lot of those maintenance issues from happening is just to perform routine inspections and maintenance. I recommend, at least quarterly inspections. One, it lets you into the house, lets you see how things are going, what they look like, who's living there. But it also lets you check things out to see how things are working. Ask them, you have any leaky faucets? Do you have any, issues? And then once you get that information, to respond to it in a timely manner. Be aware of things like aging appliances, any other aspects of your rental that need tending to, like regularly changing heating filters, also doing regular maintenance on AC units. Whenever you do perform routine maintenance, be sure to provide your tenant with appropriate notice beforehand. So letting them know, I'm coming for the quarterly inspection, or we're going to come change filters, or whatever it is, so they know. Number four, resolving problems with neighbors. Now, this is a pretty common one, especially in apartments. If tenants in neighboring units are having issues, step in to help resolve those issues. There are plenty of ways you can help in various scenarios. Sometimes it's as simple as just pointing them to the lease agreement and showing them, look, you've got to stop the noise by this time. There's it says in the lease. Also, you can't have parties or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's just resolved just by saying, hey, if you're breaking the lease, you're going to have to leave. So that's real effective. Number five, make sure your rental is competitively priced. Look at rentals similar to yours in the area. See how your property stacks up to the competition. You can do this manually, but you can also contact services. I know apartments.com has rental tools that you can access that can help you to give you a good idea of rental comps in your area. Number six, maintaining amenities. Keep up with any amenities that could be seen as selling points for the rental. For apartments, make sure the pool is clean, the lawn is mowed, the laundry facilities are all functional. For single-family homes, I mentioned the high-speed internet access. You can't do much about the walk-in closet or soundproof walls, but you could maybe provide a washer and dryer in the unit, or at least the hookups. Number 7, allowing pets. Now, sometimes, as landlords, pets, as much as I love pets, and I'm a real dog person myself especially, but there are certain dogs that I just won't let into my units. So they say 72% of renters have pets, yet renters often have trouble finding rental housing that welcomes their pets. Allowing pets in your rental with minimal restrictions affords you a larger pool of qualified tenants to choose from. You can get really, really nice people that love dogs, but sometimes they get kind of knocked out of the process, unfortunately, because you have a no pets policy. So, I might recommend, if you're reluctant to do that, I take small dogs, pretty easily. But if you're concerned about pet damage, you might want to charge a monthly pet fee. And that could be a way to hopefully cover any kind of damage that the pets may do. Also, embrace technology. One of the things that can really save is getting people set up on ACH, which means, their funds are automatically deducted from their checking account to the landlord to pay the rent on time, every time. And it's a real, saves a lot of headaches and heartbreaks and chasing after people each rental period. Also, a key one here is the last one, number 9, select tenants carefully. I've already mentioned that. One of the most effective ways to do that is just don't skimp on the application process. Get a very extensive, good application. There's a book that Brandon Turner wrote with his wife called Managing Rental Properties, and they have a sample application in that book. And it's really helpful because you want to cover all bases and ask all the right questions. It's also really important, too, that you abide by the guidelines set by the Fair Housing Act, too. You don't want to violate any of those laws. The FHA prohibits any housing-related discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. Make sure your standards are the same for every potential tenant. Well, that's it. While there are many situations out of your control that cause tenants to move, there are things you can do that you can control. So ensuring that you've priced your rental property right, that you're being responsive to tenant requests for maintenance, again, using technology, and if you can, allow pets. Those are just a few things that can help you to get good qualified tenants for years to come. And I might add with the pet thing too, it really is, if they find a place that accepts their pet, they're not going to want to leave either, because usually it's hard to find landlords that'll take the pets. So that can be an advantage if they are responsible people and they don't let their dog, chew up your walls or eat your toilet or something. Anyway, that's it for today. Remember, old dogs, everything presented here today, including links, and there will be some links in here too, can be accessed in our show notes on the Old Dogs website at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. And you're going to look for the episode entitled How to Reduce Tenant Turnover. So until next time, remember, cash flow is king and real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward. And may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.